Welcome to Deep Dive Library, where we take a deep dive on your favorite books. I'm Riker, and this is.
Connor. And to start off this journey of deep diving through books, we're going to be starting with The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. One of, I think, our favorite books, or book series in general. I think probably like top five for both of us.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Um,
It's a series that I am constantly going back to,
yeah,
even
myself
though
included.
I have gone through them many, many times.
Now, I haven't gone through them as many times as you have, but I do find the repetitive joy of rereading this story because there's always something different to kind of pick out.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's.
something that I'm really excited for with this
Yeah.
is to see what we can pick up just kind of reading it, going through it one chapter at a time. Before we get into things though, I would just like to say if you guys enjoy this, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when the next episode goes up. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
So,
Part one,
part one.
the tribute.
Yep.
No.
The tributes.
Is it the tributes? Yeah, it is the tributes. Okay.
Yep. It's the tributes. So we
Second guess myself.
I understand that.
Chapter one.
So we start this story
In bed.
in bed. Yeah, like it says when I wake up, the other side of the bed is cold. My fingers stretch out, seeking for Prim's warmth. First name we get, not even the main character. Seeking Prim's warmth, but finding only the rough canvas cover of the mattress. First of all,
That does
that
not
can't be.
sound like.
No,
No.
no, it can't be comfortable.
No. No, it like it who would like to sleep on a burlap sack?
I mean, this is District 12. They are notoriously the poorest district.
But we don't know
Spoiler
that
alert.
yet.
Spoiler alert. For those of you who are following this along for the first time with your own copy of the book. Um, so our main character leans up just enough to see where her sister has made it off to, and sees that her sister Prim, is laying with her mother.
Which I find that interesting. Like, yes, we already know because we've gone through this book before that, like, District 12, poor district. You just made reference to that.
Right.
But, like, Cat, our main character, um, and her sister sharing a room makes sense. You know, siblings sharing a room, that is not uncommon at all.
No.
But the fact that they share a room with the parents as well is a little odd.
Right.
Like, I don't know, like, you would think that there would at least be two bedrooms in this house. So then it's like, okay, siblings, parents.
Right.
But that is not the case.
At least not the way it's described here.
No.
Their house is described as being quite small later on.
Yeah.
Um, so she goes on to talk about how Prim's face is as fresh as a raindrop. Did that used to say dewdrop in the audio?
No, it
No, it
says
is raindrop.
raindrop.
For whatever reason, my brain was saying dewdrop. Um, there's a line here that really gets me. It says, "My mother was very beautiful once too, or so they tell me." Do they not have family pictures of any
Apparently
kind?
not. And that's I think it's interesting that you made note of that because I also like wrote something about that, like about the fact that she's never seen a picture of her mother when she was younger.
Yeah, and it strikes me because I'm imagining, again, a little bit of a spoiler, but District 12 is the poorest district. And so therefore I could understand maybe not having a photographer in the district or the photographer being too expensive. But even then it goes on to say here later that Katniss, the main character, let's just get that out of the way. Let's not play that joke off too much. Um, It says that Katniss, um, or her mother is, from the apothecary. She was from the merchant side of the district.
Yeah.
So to even not have a picture of herself from when she was younger is
Yeah.
kind of shocking because I mean, no, the merchant class isn't what you would consider wealthy.
But they definitely are like wealthier than the rest of the district.
At least the seam section of the district.
Yeah.
Um I find that interesting that there's not even a single picture
Yeah.
referenced at all
Yeah.
of Mama Everdeen.
Yeah. I agree.
Um Now, I think the descriptions in this book are incredible. I've got one highlighted later, um, that is talking about scenery. But before we get to that, I love Katniss and Buttercup's relationship.
And just how absolutely
Mm,
awful they are to each other.
yes, I mean, it's like I tried to drown him in a bucket when Prim brought him home.
Yeah.
First of all, that begs the question: was Prim standing right there when she tried to drown this cat? Because had she
Oh,
succeeded,
like probably.
had she succeeded, that would have been probably one
Something.
of the most traumatizing things you could do to your little sibling.
I mean, maybe.
Other than like maybe signing them up for Tesserae against their will.
There. I mean, I don't even know if that's.
An applicable thing to do within the universe. But like that's the only thing I can think of that'd be well, having your sibling raped would be pretty traumatizing. But like this was years ago.
Right. I mean, but like she also goes on to say that he is scrawny and that his belly is swollen with worms and he's crawling with fleas. You know, if I were in Katniss's situation, I love cats, but if I were in Katniss's situation, there I may have also tried to like get rid of them. Maybe not to like that extent,
Right.
but I definitely would have kicked him out.
So going on to the next page, I love it. It's like, it turns out he's a great mouser, even catches the occasional rat. I feed Buttercup the entrails of when she's cleaning kills, she'll feed Buttercup entrails, and it's like he stopped hissing at me. Entrails, no hissing. And I'm like, is that really any way to have an agreement within your own home against an animal you could just kick out onto the street? Like, I'm not encouraging any kind of like badness
Animal
towards animals.
cruelty.
Yeah, there's the word.
But I also love that then she goes on to say, "This is the closest we will ever come to love."
Right.
Like she is well aware that like even if she wanted to have a better relationship with Buttercup, that it is absolutely not gonna happen. He
Nah,
is
like
not
it's
down for
that's
it.
just pretty much it. So then Katniss gets out of bed, puts on her hunting gear, heads out towards the fence. I mean, like this is part of her daily routine. Well,
Well,
when she's not at school.
I mean, she grabs the cheese first.
Well,
Because
yeah,
remember, leaves the
yeah.
goat cheese.
She grabs a block of goat cheese from her goat, which will get explained a little more later.
Oh, Prim's goat, not.
Prim's goat, yeah. But she goes moves on ahead towards the the gate or the fence is what
Yeah.
it is. It's a fence, and I think it's interesting that um they talk about just how barren the streets are,
Yeah,
and the
like,
fact that they're described as black cinder streets,
yeah,
which just explains to you because District 12's main export within this world of Panem um
is
is
coal.
coal. Like they're coal miners. And for the fact that they say black cinder streets almost makes me think that there is that much coal dust in the air or around them that it has essentially dyed their streets or their cobblestone paths or whatever black.
Yeah.
That's kind of the image that I get. Um, and here's the description of some of the housing being squat gray houses, which almost kind of make me think of
The abnegation.
the abnegation sector in Divergent.
Yeah.
Um,
Though, I mean, the gray part, yes, but they weren't small houses because there was like an upstairs.
yes, but they were small in terms of like an abnegation house would be smaller than our house, even with two
Right.
floors.
Yeah, because it's a very modest
Modest.
home.
Yeah, and this kind of makes me think back to that.
Yeah.
Is just the fact that they are very small. There doesn't seem to be much in the ways of upkeep or anything like that.
So I understand why like the merchant class is called the merchant class. It makes sense. But why is the section of District 12 that she lives in nicknamed the Seam?
And that was something I was thinking on. That was
Like,
something that I
does it
was.
have something to do with coal mining? Like,
It
I don't
could.
know. I'd have to look it up. I don't
Yeah, that was
remember.
something that I almost highlighted that because I was curious myself. Um, in
You
the fact that it's called the
skipped
scene.
past a part that I had highlighted.
Well, I apologize.
You should. It's. I'm gonna interject here real quick with it. It's nothing important. It's just uh in the in the audiobook, um when Katniss is talking about Buttercup, it says Prim named her Buttercup, insisting that his muddy yellow coat matched the bright flower.
Right, and this is from the unabridged version, so there's gonna
Yeah.
be a ton of like typos and stuff.
I don't know if there's going to be a ton, though that one did take me forever to actually even notice.
That's fair.
Because I was just like, yep, Buttercup, let's go. Um, yeah, the highlighter had bled through the page a bit, which is why I noticed that
Oh,
you
that's
you had
fair.
skipped over it.
I've got. So she makes her way through the seams, noticing that everybody's kind of like shut in. It's everybody's treating it basically as a holiday. That's what is described here is basically a holiday. Just not one you'd want to really celebrate, but people are taking this chance to spend a little more time with family, sleep in,
I
if at all
mean,
possible,
I
because I
take
think the
any
coal,
chance to sleep in
because
that I
like,
can.
well, and they also say like the coal miners are in the mines by like 5 or 6 a.m.
Oh yeah,
and
they're
then they're there until 7, 8 o'clock at night. Like they're working,
and they work 6 days a week.
yeah, like they're working well over what would be considered full time hours, and they're getting paid not even arguably, just considerably less than like the lowest minimum wage in modern America.
Oh yeah.
They're barely getting paid. I mean, that's why the Tessera exists, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But like, it's just crazy to see how poor their conditions are.
Oh
Their
yeah.
working I mean, mine work is poor conditions as it is. It's incredibly
Yeah.
dark. It's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially with something as flammable as coal.
right. And the fact that they have no countermeasures or the ability to put countermeasures in place in case of a fire outbreak is kind of crazy to me.
I mean, the district itself doesn't have that ability, but the capital definitely could if they wanted
Yes,
to. But they don't care if people die.
the Capitol doesn't, and especially one President Coriolanus Snow, which we'll get into much later.
Yeah.
But like
Who we
presidents,
won't actually like meet in this book. We hear about him, but you don't actually ever meet him until the end of the book.
yeah, it's like right it's in the last chapter or two, I think, that you
Yeah.
meet President Snow in person, quote unquote, in person.
Yeah.
Um,
You mentioned earlier that there is a fence.
yeah.
And it says that it is surrounding the entirety of District 12. It
Hmm.
encloses District 12. Why do you think that there is the fence?
Well, the book goes on to say to keep out wild predators. So stray
Right.
dogs, boars, bears, anything that could be considered a detriment to the lives. But it's obvious the capital doesn't care
Yeah.
about its citizens. Like that becomes very, very apparent as we progress through this series.
Hell,
Um,
as we progress through the next couple of pages.
right. Um, I think mostly it's one of two things.
Hmm.
One, it's a scare tactic to keep people from living off the fat of the land and disappearing to where the capital cannot see them. Like that seems very obvious to me.
Right.
The other thing is that there's really no purpose for it. It's just a boundary.
Yeah, I definitely think that like it says that it's like electrified. It's supposed to be electrified 24 hours a day,
Right.
as a deterrent to predators. But I think that it's honestly a way to keep the people in,
Yeah.
not keep them out,
Yeah.
or keep other things out.
Because we
Um,
see in later books that that fence really means nothing. Like there's one point I think in I want to say it's in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the fourth book in the series. But I think at one point we see a description of something along the lines of "there's no fence at all." Now I could be wrong, and I'd have to go back and double check that. But I think that, like it's alluded to that the fence isn't even really there yet.
and
Um,
I think there is a fence there. Um, but I think like during that time going in and out of the woods just isn't as much cared about as it is closer towards
right, and
Katniss's
there
time.
are specific people who bring in that that level of strictness to it.
Yeah.
But that is again for way later. Um, so Katniss makes her way into the forest, retrieves her bow and arrows from a hollow log. And my question here is, right,
Mhm.
is if the peacekeepers were to find this, let's say they were doing a patrol of, right inside the forest where this is presumably this is not super far into the forest. It's probably just out of eye shot. So maybe like 50 or 60 yards in, just
Mhm.
enough to where you can't see through the foliage, but you can find that spot every time without fail. That is
Yeah.
what a good hunter would do, right? If they have to leave their gear behind, they're going to leave it somewhere where they know they can backtrack to, which is what Katniss does here.
Right.
But
But it
what's this?
also you don't want it to be that far in because of the wild animals and stuff that you
Right.
have to like keep an eye out for.
Um, like rabid animals, venomous snakes. Like it goes on the list why, having this bow and arrow would be great.
Yeah. So I can't
What is
imagine trying to
stopping?
shoot a snake with an arrow.
Well, you definitely finished the job on that one because there's not much snake to arrow
Unless it's a
ratio
huge
there.
snake, but this also um
Presumably isn't like the is here on the East Coast, like northern East Coast ish, like
well, I don't know cuz Appalachia.
yeah, the Appalachian or Appalachian or however it's pronounced. There's several different ways.
Um
Is where like the majority of our coal comes from.
well, that's where like District 12 is.
Yeah. So
Um
like the Virginia area maybe, Tennessee area,
I'm not great with geography.
just that somewhere along this coast for sure. It's funny because the it's described as the capital being in the center and then everything ringing out from it, which makes you think that all the districts are in rings, which is weird. But like it says that they ring out. I'll point it out when we get to it. But anyway, so Katniss goes on to talk about how her father taught her how to hunt, and that 5 years later she's still waking up screaming for him to run in that mine explosion. And
Yeah.
that's crazy to me when
This
you
is the
think
first glimpse
about
that you
that.
get when we find out that Katniss's dad was not mentioned before because he's dead.
Right, but you also realize that Katniss has an incredible memory. Like, she was only what? This was 5 years ago. She's
She was 11 when
11.
he
Yeah.
died. It says that.
Um, does it? I must have
Mhm.
missed that part. But
Where we-
but still,
we-
the fact that she's waking up screaming for him to run, like she's standing there when the mine exploded, just describes how incredibly, I guess, vibrant would be the way to put it, her memory is, or her imagination is.
I would say her imagination because we do find out like later like what it was like for her and Prim
Right.
when the mine exploded because they clearly were not there. They were children. They were not in the mines.
Right.
Well, but
As children, they in fact did not yearn for the mines.
uh,
Um,
we also this is like where we first find out how old Katniss is
right.
because if you can do the simple maths, you know 11 plus 5 is 16,
16.
you know.
Um,
We still don't know how old Prim is
but
at
it
this point.
it goes on to say, I want to say in the next page that she's 17.
The who's 17? No, Katniss is 16.
Or maybe it's that she was almost 17. Anyway,
Her no, because her
um,
birthday. So this happens in July.
right.
Her birthday is in May.
Oh, okay.
So she just
So
turned 16.
hunting is strictly forbidden. Like, it is not allowed. It's considered poaching. It's illegal, no matter what.
Yeah.
But most of the peacekeepers, which are basically just overpaid bullies, like
Some of them, yeah.
at least, especially later, when we
Oh,
get like
Thread.
thread and
Yeah.
whatnot in. But like this batch of peacekeepers isn't too bad. But they're basically just the cops. Um, they're basically your law enforcement, but they take law into their own hands when they feel to do so. I do love the fact that she says that the peacekeep they don't get in trouble for hunting because the peacekeepers are their best customers.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Or among their best customers.
yeah.
Um,
So, and then she goes on to talk about how every year, few brave people kind of like try to eke out into the forest and get some apples or some of this, or
oh
some of
yeah,
that.
during the fall.
Yeah, when it'd be good picking time for that. And I think that's interesting to think that there are other people who are trying, but no one's like, I'm not equipped. No one. There are people who are like, I'm not really well equipped for this.
Oh yeah, cuz
I'm not gonna
I
try.
mean, she makes note that like more people probably would go into the woods and hunt
Mm-hmm.
if they had the weapons to, but none of them are going to go out there with just a knife.
Right.
um and Katniss
We.
already said that her dad made the bow and arrows that she's using.
Mm-hmm.
So you know we know that not everyone else in the district has them.
Right, and it also
And
begs the question: how old are those bows and arrows?
um that's a great question.
Because I would assume that the one that her dad uses up until the point where he ends up passing away
Hmm.
is the same one he's used since he was a young adult, presumably.
Mayhaps,
Um,
unless he made himself a new one when he got like bigger.
right. I'm saying like once he finished growing, like in that young
Oh
adult
yeah, yeah.
area, like that, well, young to mid 20s area.
Right, okay.
That he, fashioned one, and so since his 20s, and we don't know how old he was when he died.
No.
I don't think that's actually ever mentioned in
No,
within the series, the
it
confines of it.
it's not, but if we could sit down and figure out roughly how old he is, um
It'd be a lot of math. Did we pay the math budget this week?
I didn't pay anything this week.
Oh, okay, so then the math budget's out of here. Um, so yeah, and I love how she goes on to say, District 12, where you can starve to death in safety. She's like, even in the middle of nowhere, you worry someone might overhear you. Which is crazy, because the last place I'd expect anyone to hear me is the middle of nowhere. That's why you would go to the middle of nowhere.
Right, but it's like
It's
she's also
alluding to the capabilities of the capital.
well that, but also like she uh not here, but at one point she says that there's always like eyes for hire, always ears for hire.
Mm-hmm.
So you can assume that like because it's not like she's in a like wide open plain. She's
No.
in the forest. There are trees and other things in the way. So there is the possibility that there is somebody hiding out there gathering
And
information.
there could always be, and this is a sort of spoiler for later, but there also could always be a spare Jabberjay.
I mean, mayhaps.
Because they didn't all, they weren't all captured back like they explain later. Because we find out after that some were left to then eventually die out, but it turns out that that didn't really work the way they expected it, which is so like the government.
Yeah.
Like, especially
Well,
a
we'll get there.
dystopian government. It's so like a dystopian government to
Mm.
think, oh well, whatever. Um,
I kind of think it's a little, and this is not against like Suzanne Collins and her writing, um, but the idea that their capital city is called the capital is like the laziest naming convention I have ever seen. Like,
but like it's fair. Like you really, when you think, and I get what you're saying, right? I completely understand what you're saying, but here's how I look at it, right? That's the only name it needs.
right, and then I'm not
And that's
saying
because of how eccentric and wild the capital is, right? We'll get a description of Effie here in just a little bit, and we'll get introduced to Effie here in just a little bit. But when you think of her and some of the others, it's like the
right.
capital's the only name you need, because when you think of it, you just think of gaudy and over the top and other synonyms for that, because none are coming to mind.
It's something mildly orange.
Well played.
Thank you. Yeah, but I think I was like, yeah, the far off city called the capital is like, wow, you really broke the mold with that one, didn't you?
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like it works too well within the story itself
I'm not
to
saying that it's a bad
really.
name or that it doesn't fit. It fits just fine. It works perfectly. Uh However, like
It's valid. That's
really?
valid. Um. So something that I thought was funny here is that,
Sorry.
Katniss, is like, even in the middle of nowhere, someone might hear you talking in regards to what she said about District 12. She goes on to then say, so I learned to hold my tongue and turn my features into an indifferent mask so that no one could ever read my thoughts. And I said, so you thought. Because Snow reads her like a book.
It's not.
Haymitch reads her like a book. Like, everyone around her reads her like a book.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you're really doing all that well at
Like,
it.
the only person you're masking there is yourself, and you're lying to yourself. Um, like, yeah, it's just like, I was just like, yeah, so you thought. Um, and she's like, even at home where I'm less pleasant, you're not really that pleasant of a person in public either. Like, like she keeps it together well enough until there's no one else around, and then she flat out punches people, like, or shoves people.
I was gonna say, I don't think she's punched a single person.
She would have Hamish if Hamish wouldn't have absolutely beat the brakes off of her, in a drunken rage. But
Hamish punches PETA.
Hamish does in fact punch Peeta, and he gets him good too.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm. I mean, but she's like, um, make only small talk in the public market, discuss
mhm.
little more than trade in the hob, which is our black market, and that is the first introduction to a place that is going to be very important for Katniss.
Yes, and
Um,
well, it's not even just Katniss. When you look at the overarching story, when you look at all five books as a whole, the Hob is so important.
right. But we're not. We're looking at Katniss's story
Yes, but
right now. Um, why is it called the Hob?
that's another good question. And I want people to, like, if anyone watching or listening happens to know why they call it the seam and they call it the Hob, if there's something somewhere that we missed, please point it out. And if it's somewhere in the book that we somehow missed after several rereads, like give us chapter and like paragraph number and like line number in the comments, and we'll go back and find it.
Yeah. I mean, I highly doubt it is in the book with how many times I've gone through them. It would have to be in Ballad or Sunrise for me to
Which
have missed it, which is possible.
very very
Um,
plausible because we've read
but
those the least out of all five of them.
yeah, well, especially Sunrise. It's only been out since March.
Right.
So,
So, she goes on to talk about how she's less pleasant at home. Again, she's not very pleasant anywhere. She's just kind of an ass. Like,
be nice to Katniss. She has
um,
trauma.
so she makes her way farther into the woods, and in the woods waits the only person with whom I can be myself, Gale. I said, well, kinda. And I don't know what your thoughts on this are. And we're gonna get more introduced to Gale in a minute. Well, actually, let's go ahead and then we'll come back here. So, um, she says, she's starting to relax as she heads towards their meeting spot, which is like fair when you're excited to see somebody and you're getting closer. Like especially if it's someone you're comfortable around, you get excited, but you also get very relaxed and kind of just. Which really, when you're in the woods, getting relaxed is not the thing you need to be doing, Katniss. But I digress.
I mean, she's used to these woods. She knows them like
Right,
the back of her hand.
right,
But also, like, from what we have so far, Gail is her only friend.
right,
Like, she had, or at least she hasn't mentioned any other friends.
right,
So, and with the only person with whom I can be myself, you would think that Gail is her only friend, because it's like,
right,
if you can't be yourself around your friends, like, are you really friends with them? Like,
right,
to a certain extent, like,
right. I get what you're saying. I love how she got the nickname Catnip. So Gail says, "Hey, Catnip," from um, basically, essentially off to the side or behind her somewhere off screen. And I just kind of wrote above Gail's name there, like when he's kind of saying hi to Katniss, um, is not a good person.
mm,
And we'll get into more of that in, I want to say, the next page. Yes, in the next two
yeah.
pages. Um, we'll get more into that. But Gale is Katniss's only friend, and this is actually where we get introduced to Katniss's name. He,
Yeah, paragraph 13 is the first time you find out our main character's name is Katniss.
yeah, and he, it says, "Hey, Catnip," Gale says. "My real name is Katniss, but when I first told him, I barely whispered it, so he thought I said catnip." And then I love this whole thing about the links following him around and the nickname kind of sticking, because
Yeah.
that is really how a nickname would stick in like a situation like that, right?
Yeah, it's like it's like he could have been like, "Oh, I misheard you. Let me correct myself.
Mm-hmm.
This is your name." And he probably was like that for a little while until the lynx started following her around. And then it
Right.
was like, "No, no, no. You're catnip."
Right. And I love she's like, "I finally had to kill the lynx because he scared off game. I almost regretted it because he wasn't bad company. But I got a decent price for his pelt," and I'm just like, damn. Cause like it's like you almost feel bad, then you realize I made some good money off this thing. Well, alright.
Which I feel like further just like shows how poor Katniss is
Right.
and how she is willing to basically sell anything that she gets in the woods for money.
Right. And then Gale goes on to go, "Look what I shot." Gale holds up a loaf of bread with an arrow stuck through it, and I laugh. And I love this interaction because it shows you what Gale as a person could be had things been different.
Yeah.
Had the situations of this book not been a thing, I think Gale could have been a really good person, but he's got that mindset of anarchy from the jump, and it really shows, especially moving into the later books.
Yeah.
Um, but I do love that. Do love that
Excuse me.
line, and it goes on to say, "It's real bakery bread, not the flat, dense loaves we make from our grain rations." And I highlighted that, and I put a little note off to the side, and I said, "How bad is their grain?"
Yeah, that's the thing that I wondered about as well. I didn't
Or
like highlight it in the
because I mean,
book, but I
obviously
did
they
make
wouldn't.
note like different kinds of bread. Like,
I mean, obviously they wouldn't have any leavening agent, presumably baking powder, baking soda, any other like things that you could use as a leavening agent.
right.
Eggs would be hard to come by, so they probably wouldn't be using much in the way of eggs. So, like, how dense is this bread we're talking? And how
Um,
flat are we talking? Like, because in my brain, I'm almost picturing something that's kind of like pound cake dense, but with like non thickness.
mm,
And I don't know why.
non sounds good right now.
But like, yeah, the dense loaves, the flat, dense loaves we make from our grain rations. Like, this must be the grain that, let's see, would it be District 8 that does harvesting?
Wow.
No?
Wow. Fake fan over here, guys.
Look, well, I also haven't been to that part of the book in a while, so, like,
That would be District 11
Oh,
that
yeah.
does that.
Well, does it strictly state that they also do grain? Because I mean, I know they do like the fruit trees. They talk about their apple orchards and stuff, and that's really the main focal point.
Right. So
Um,
District 11 does the like harvestable stuff. But and then District 10 does livestock.
that's right. Yeah, because they have them
District 8 is
linens,
yeah,
fabrics. Yeah.
fabrics.
What's the word they use?
Uh fabrics.
No, I can hear it. I can hear Carolyn saying it in my head.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
just not there yet.
yeah. Um. So they, go on to cut up the bread, put some cheese on it.
Thanks, Brim.
Um. Gail goes on to say, "I think the old man was feeling sentimental this morning." Gail says, "Even wished me luck." Now, it doesn't say this directly here. It's not for another couple of pages about how the tesserae system works. which we'll get into how it works when we get there. But of all the odds, Gale probably has the worst odds of his age range.
Or at least among
Or
the
among the
worst.
worst odds of his age range, because he's got 40 entries in.
42.
Yeah, 42 entries in for Tesseri, because of Tesseri and everything. He's got 42 entries in.
Yeah.
Come this Hunger Games. Now this is the last one
Yeah,
that
because
he's
he's
eligible.
18,
Yeah,
so he's
so
aging out.
yeah, which by the way is like terrifying. You spend 6 years of your life not knowing whether or not you're gonna go off and be forced to fight in some stupid game, like.
And then into the mines with you.
Right, like
If there's like, because
because if
if
you're
you're
not in the
not,
games and you win, if you win the games, you're set for life.
I
If
mean,
you
if you,
don't win,
then you're just dead,
you're
and
dead, and it doesn't really
you don't have
matter.
to worry about anything
But
anymore
like
because
you
you're
go
dead.
from living in fear to still living in fear because you're working in these terrible mining conditions.
Yeah, the only time you don't is if you are in the merchant class,
Yeah.
because the merchants have kids, and then the kids run those shops,
Yeah, and
and
it gets
then
passed down through family and everything. But I mean, even they're still, at risk for being drawn. I mean, look at what happens later in said in this will be in the next chapter.
right,
But
but if like the only time they don't have to, they still have to worry, the merchant kids still have to worry about their names being drawn, but they don't have to worry about having to go down into the mines
right.
afterwards, which I think is interesting that Katniss's mom left the merchant class to be with her dad.
Mhm.
Why didn't her dad move into the merchant class with her? Like, was that for some reason not allowed?
It's
You
it
could
very
only
well
marry down, you couldn't marry up?
it could have been a rule for her family. It could be something within the district. But you don't really get a whole lot of District 12 customs as a whole. I mean, you get like the spoiler alert here.
The toasting.
You get the toasting ceremony, which is their marriage ceremony. You get the fact that they like to dance and to sing. Um, and I have a question, and I wrote this
I don't
in
know
here.
about singing, but they definitely do like to dance.
Well, just music as a whole
Yeah.
is a big part of their culture
Yeah.
when they're allowed to express their culture.
Yeah.
Um,
We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
yeah, we are. I mean, we are and we're not at the same time. Um, I love the description of Effie here. As uh, suddenly Gale falls into a capital accent as he mimics Effie Trinket, the maniacally upbeat woman who arrives once a year to read out the names at the reaping. I
I almost
forgot.
forgot. Happy Hunger Games!
And then they go on and they kind of just play out this little joke. Um, and then
And may the odds
be ever in your
favor.
favor. So it goes on to talk about we're getting a description of Gale here. We're also simultaneously kind of getting a description of Katniss. Um, it says, I watches Gale. This will be the second paragraph. Watches Gale pulls out his knife and slices the bread. He could be my brother, and this is what makes me question this here. It says he could be my brother. Straight black hair, olive skin. We even have the same gray eyes, but we're not related, at least not closely. And it's that not closely that makes me think. It's also most of the families who work the mines resemble one another this way. Are most of the people who work the mines Covey or related to the Covey in some way?
Um, that's a great question. I don't
I don't.
know,
I
and I
won't
don't
say
know how to.
all.
And
I definitely won't say all, because there were some merchant class Covey for sure. Although they stuck mostly within their people. But
I mean, but then she goes on to say, that's why my mother and Prim, with their light hair and blue eyes, always look out of place. They
right,
are. My mother's parents were part of the small merchant class that caters to officials.
right. Um,
Well, officials, peacekeepers, and the occasional seamed customer.
right.
There we go. I finished the sentence.
Um, so it makes me wonder if Gale has some Covey lineage to him as well, because I mean it's definitely possible, especially with their features, and then Katniss takes more after her father, which we learn more of later, but it's still described.
I
It
mean,
it just it begs that question: is there?
I think it's more of that's how the Covey fit so well into District 12 because they resembled them so much.
Right. So it does beg the question though: is there does Gale have Covey ancestry?
We don't know.
Right. I mean, that's something that we can only that's only something we can theorize on. Um and then goes on to talk about how her mother the looks of her mom and Prim um and that her mother ran an apothecary or her mother's parents, her grandparents ran an apothecary shop in the nicer part of District 12 since almost no one can afford doctors. Are there even really doctors like doctors in 12?
I don't
Because the
think so
one
because
bad injury, like the one massively bad injury we see in the main three is spoiler alert. Actually, I'm gonna take a little page out of another podcast and just say foreshadow report because I assume that most of the people who are watching this have read these books.
mhm.
Um, is Gale's whipping? That is like the worst injury we see
Actually,
firsthand.
I mean firsthand sure, but I think the actual like worst one that we are that is like mentioned
Was the
is
explosion?
no is the so it's the guy who got burned in the mines and yeah, the district doctors had taken a look at him and told the family to take him home and let him die. But they took him to Katniss's mom, and
Yeah,
he still died anyway. But
right.
it was he was burned so bad that you could see his bone.
Yeah. But then again, that's like a secondhand recountance, and it's still horrific. Don't get me wrong, but like of the ones we're like present to see through Katniss's eyes.
I mean, that technically is through Katniss's eyes because she did see that.
Yes, I'm talking. I don't want to say modern day because it's not modern day, but like present day for Katniss.
Yeah.
Because that was just a recountance of said thing, but
I mean, if you want to
still,
get technical, this whole series is just her recounting
that's
everything.
valid. Um, so yeah, that kind of just goes through um talking about how her mom would make remedies and things like that for people.
I think it is possible that the district doctors are generally used for either the merchant class and the peacekeepers, and people involved in mine accidents.
Yeah, I think pretty much outside of that, you don't really get many people needing doctors. Because by Katniss says later that most of the time, by the time you need a doctor, like when you like absolutely need a doctor, it's basically too late anyway.
Right.
Which is like horrific to think of when you look at the Capitol and they just can hop in to see the doctor whenever they want and be like, okay, fix me up, doc. And it's like, well,
Well, it's also horrific to think if you measure it against our current time, the way our country is right now. Like, there have often been times where I myself have been like, no, I think I'm gonna just try to work through this because I can't afford to go to a doctor and
Right.
about this because it's just going to cost too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that this book came out like over like 10 years ago, the fact that it's still,
You can see parallels to real life is crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. Um and this was the descriptor that I highlighted because I loved this. It says we settled back in a nook in the rocks. From this place we are invisible but have a clear view of the valley, which is teeming with summer life. Grains to gather, roots to dig, fish iridescent in the sunlight. The day is glorious with the blue sky and soft breeze. The food's wonderful with the cheese seeping into the warm bread and the berries bursting in our mouths. That descriptor
Makes
sets
me
up
really want some bread.
it sets up the world, right? Or it helps set up the world. I won't say it sets up the world because there's still so much to go and there's still so much to learn
Right.
about this and about all of this as things continue, but just to get this descriptor of what they're looking over, it's like, yeah, no, I can see that. I can see myself just
Lounging there, having
lounging there having a good old day.
yeah.
Um and here's the part we're coming up on a section here that I see you've got highlighted through and through.
Wait, before we get down to here, I like that she, like, says that everything would be perfect if this really was a holiday.
Mhm.
If all the day off meant was roaming the mountains with Gale, hunting for tonight's supper, but instead we have to stand in the square at 2 o'clock waiting for the names to be called out. And we still, at this point, haven't really. We've been told from Gail saying Happy Hunger Games that this is for the Hunger Games, but we still don't know what the Hunger Games are at this
Right.
point
And like the reaping's been mentioned, but
a
just
number of times, but it's
it's been
still,
in passing more or less.
yeah,
Um and like they have this beautiful day ahead of them where realistically if it was like a holiday
yeah,
they could do what they wanted, we could experience more of this world outside of District 12,
yeah,
but we don't get that because there's that looming threat of like their names being called out, which again goes back to the reaping. And it's that sense of uh dread is kind of really starting to settle in to the story itself as
yeah,
we get more and more detail here. I did underline supper because it's more of a southern colloquialism. Um, and I'm like that's what made me think that they were more southernly located, maybe not like Georgia area or anything like that, but
no, they've
like,
got mountains.
well, I mean, Georgia has mountains up in the north, but
Yes and no.
just because
It's
the
not the
tail of
same.
the Appalachians run into it. But anyway, I digress. So that's maybe what it made me think of as the South. But like this next scene really frustrates me.
Yeah,
Um, as I'm assuming it does to many others. I know you are on the same page as me. Like it's
literally.
frustrating, right? Um,
I'm hilarious.
Gale turns to Katniss and says, "We could do it, you know." Katniss goes, "What?" "Leave the district and run off. Live in the woods, you and I. We could make it," says Gale. Katniss is obviously very bewildered by this. Um, and he goes on to say, "If we didn't have so many kids," he adds quickly. "They're not our kids, of course, but they might as well be. Gale's two little brothers and a sister. Prim, you may as well throw in our mothers too, because how would they live without us?" Now, is this Katniss saying this here? That how
Yeah,
would they live without us?
yes.
Because I still feel like that is very just rude. Her mother could probably, if it was just her mother, she could probably get by on the apothecary stuff because there's always a need for medicines. That is a constant need. And if you've got somebody who can make them there's always going to be a need. Now, I understand that Katniss
Right.
gathers a lot of these things that her mom uses. I'm just saying there's other ways
Not only does
she could
Katniss
go
like
about that.
gather a lot of the things that she uses, but oftentimes the people who procure her mother and Prim's
Med making.
yeah, they do not generally pay in the way of actual money because
No.
most of them don't have that,
No.
so they trade and whatever. So she would still
Need something to trade with.
she would still need more,
Yeah.
than what she would be able to get by herself. But I definitely do think that this is a like jab at her mother personally,
Mm.
not at Gail's. Because sorry, I keep hitting that. We go on to later to see just like how she feels about
Mm-hmm.
Gail's mom. I don't think it's until the second book where we really get a look at his mom.
Right.
But she does love and respect his mom.
Mm-hmm. Um. So Katniss goes on with some more inner monologue, and this inner monologue is super, super important to the overarching story because we get so much exposition through that inner monologue.
Yeah.
A lot of the story bits, like when she's in the arena, a lot of the main focal parts are being told, where all the background processes essentially, right, are being told through inner thought.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really great way to kind of balance that out.
But she goes on to say, "Who would fill those mouths that are always asking for more? With both of us hunting daily, there are still nights when game has to be swapped for lard or shoelaces or wool. Still nights when we go to bed with our stomachs growling."
Mm-hmm. And Gail goes on to say, I never want to have, or Katniss goes on to say, I never want to have kids. Gail replies with, I might if I didn't live here. Katniss is like, but you do. And Gail's like, forget it. He snaps back.
And now,
Like,
I mean, it will say, she just said, "But you do," I say, irritated. So she's given him a bit of an attitude.
yeah,
I don't think it's enough to where he should be snapping at her.
right. It almost
But
seems like the Katniss goes on to say, like, this conversation feels all wrong, right? Leave. How could I leave Prim, who's the only person in the world I'm certain I love? And Gale is devoted to his family. We can't leave, so why bother talking about it? And even if we did, where did this stuff about having kids come from? There was never anything romantic between Gale and me when we met.
no, there
Or,
was never
yeah,
anything romantic between Gail and me. When we met, I was a skinny 12-year-old, and although he was only 2 years older than me, he already looked like a man.
right. So, like they both met when they were young.
Yeah,
And
she was 12 and he was 14.
now Katniss has a problem.
Katniss has many problems.
Katniss has many problems. But one of Katniss's big problems is that she is unable to understand and realize her feelings in the moment. Like,
Yeah.
it takes trauma for her to understand what she's feeling.
Yeah.
First of all, that doesn't seem healthy. Seems like
No.
no way to live. Um, but really, at the end of the day, what can you do about it? That's just how she is. Um, but I also feel like this was a part of, like, Gale was trying to gauge Katniss in a way.
Yeah.
Like, it almost seemed probed and directed towards her in
I
that
mean,
manner.
I love though she was like how this no, where did where is it? Bu- 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 And even if we did, where did this stuff about kids come from? Page before, Katniss says, I never want to have kids.
Yeah, but I think she was referencing the
Yes,
earlier part, the
right,
earlier reference.
if we didn't have so many kids.
Right.
But I have a feeling that with how, like, easily he said that, like, them referring to their siblings and their mothers as their kids, as their responsibilities, is something that they do often. So the fact that she would be like, where did this conversation about having kids even come from? Even though she's literally the one who was like, I don't want kids. It's like,
Right.
my girl,
Right.
you did this.
Um so it's starting to get later in the day, so they Oh, wait.
I think
Um
you just skipped a whole bunch.
yeah, cuz there was another, I mean, there's like this middle paragraph here, but not really much happens. It's
I
mostly just inner thought.
It is, but I do think it's important. In the paragraph before, she says that there's never been anything romantic between her and Gail. But
Right.
then she's like, besides, if he wants kids, Gail won't have any trouble finding a wife. He's good looking,
Which I
he's
wrote
strong enough to hand.
maybe cuz I'm in the future also.
um, He's strong enough to handle the work in the mines, and he can hunt. You can tell by the way the girls whisper about him when he walks by in school that they want him. It makes me jealous, but not for the reason people would think. Good
Right.
hunting partners are hard to find.
And
I think that there is very much the, like, it makes her jealous, in the general way that people would get jealous about that.
mhm.
She just doesn't understand that about herself.
Right. She's very closed off mentally
Yeah.
or emotionally. Well,
Yeah.
mentally too, but emotionally. And that comes to what happened when after her father passed.
Yeah.
Um so they talk about what they're going to do for the day, hunt, fish, gather. They end up going fishing and gathering. They really do a little bit of everything
Yeah.
in this trip. Um
I mean, it's mostly just the fishing and gathering, which will, like, is mentioned later, like
right.
what their haul is.
And it's a pretty fair haul.
Yeah.
For two people spending what we'll say 2 hours, 3 hours max hunting.
But like, in this next paragraph is where we really, like, get our first, like, glimpse into what.
The games are like.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
says tonight, after the reaping, everyone is supposed to celebrate. And a lot of people do, out of relief that their children have been spared for another year.
And
But.
it's this because I highlighted that exact sentence or
Mhm,
those exact sentences. Um, well, up until like, but at least two families will pull their shutters. I did not
mhm,
get that. I didn't highlight that far.
mhm.
But this is another great look at what the capital expects of its people versus the reality behind their people. Right? The way the capital looks like it is like you guys should be celebrating. This is a momentous occasion, the annual Hunger Games, because the capital and the people within the capital, well, they're fed into the propaganda that is laid before them, where the people in the districts are really seeing things for how they are.
Right.
Um, so like saying that a lot of people do celebrate out of relief is crazy.
Oh, and we know, for, like, even here with the little bit about the capital that we have been told so far, and what we have about the districts, is we know that the way that the capital celebrates and the way that the districts are celebrating over with their relief are nowhere near the
No,
same.
no, like they're on complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But But at least two families will pull their shutters, lock their doors, and try to figure out how they'll survive the painful weeks to come. And like, no one should have to experience that. And there are experiences of that, in real life when you find out, you know, a family member's going to an active war zone. You're gonna be on edge that entire time.
A family member gets sick, something like that.
Right.
It's we have we have in our like real world some parallels that can like equate to it. But we, at least as of currently, don't have anything that is the Hunger Games. Or at least
Right.
not here in North America.
No, which is ironically, we're getting there soon. Um, so they say that they make out well. The predators ignore us on a day when easier, tastier prey abounds. So basically, the big game is off hunting smaller game, much like they're hunting smaller game. Um, by late morning, so late morning is say what, new 11, 10, 11.
Yeah, I'd say 10, 11.
They've got a dozen fish, a bag of greens, and a gallon of strawberries. Now it always
Mm.
ooh, I'm interested by that choice of descriptor there. A gallon of strawberries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because if you were to try to put like strawberries into a gallon, there's gonna be gaps and holes and stuff unless you puree up a gallon's worth of strawberries, which is more like 2.5 or 3 gallons
Right.
of volumistically. It's gonna condense quite a bit.
I have a feeling that she has like a bucket or something.
That is approximately a gallon.
Yeah, and the bucket is full. That is
Yeah.
kind of what I have imagined here.
And I say that like a gallon of strawberries isn't going to puree down to a gallon of strawberries. Realistically, that's how math should work. But
We
um,
didn't pay the math rent this month.
yeah, we didn't pay the math budget this for this episode.
Yeah.
We'll try to get it in for next week because there might be some math coming up.
You math.
Um, but on the way home, they swing by the Hob. They just basically start making their average rounds. So they go to the Hob. They meet up with Greasy Say.
What kind of name is Greasy Say? That's something that I've
Like
always.
Say, I can understand. Like SAE, the way it's spelled, Say, I can
Right.
understand. Where did the greasy prefix come from?
Yeah, like, and does everybody call her Greasy Say to her face?
Like, is that a well-known nickname amongst
Like,
the Hob?
or is Greasy Say just Katniss's nickname for her? Um, that like she calls her in her head, and if so, Katniss, what the fuck? It's kind
Right,
of rude.
right. It's also kind of funny. Um, but they start making their rounds on their way home. A swing by the Hob, which is described as their black market, operates in an abandoned warehouse that once held coal, which comes up to be very important later. Um, so they kind of make their way around, and then where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Uh, so they go to Say consistently because Say Greasy Say is the only one who will consistently buy wild dog. And I love what she says here. She's like, once it's in the soup, I'll call it beef. Greasy Say says with a wink. And I love this line because it's almost like when you're kids and you're not really open to trying new things. So your parents get you to try venison and tell you it's beef or tell you it's chicken. Like
Right.
it's such a parent thing to do.
But I also love that it is like no one in the scene would turn up their nose at a good leg of wild dog. It's
Right.
like Why you guys eating the doggies?
Well, it's like,
I
and
know
also,
she says
how
that
good
they
is Wild Dog for no one to turn their nose up to it? You know,
right
it's not. I'm
or
not gonna
like
go out and find a
or
wild dog, but
and maybe it's less how good is the wild dog and more
it's
how
fresh meat,
scarce is your fresh meat.
right? Because I mean, Katniss goes on to say later that she's only ever caught a buck once or twice, or a deer, period, once or twice, 3 times.
Hmm.
You know, it's not often she gets a deer, so
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that line. I highlighted that line because I love that line. Once it's in the soup, I'll
I
call
call it
it
beef.
beef. And it's just like, again, you go back to, we've listened to these books several times, and Carolyn McCormick is the narrator,
Narrator.
and who does a phenomenal job with these characters in the book. Um Overall, but like some of those voices specifically stick out in your head, and Greasy Say is one of them.
Yeah.
Um but they go to the so after leaving the Hob, um they go to the mayor's house, and they go to the mayor's back door. And I think this is interesting is because the mayor is buying off the black market, but doesn't want to be seen buying off the black market. He's like, I'm gonna support my local hunter gatherers, but I'm not gonna make it known
Yeah,
because I have a reputation to upkeep.
I think I made a note about that uh in here. Let me. Yeah, I was mayor okay with hunting.
Yeah,
Like,
like he's okay with it. He just can't openly show that he's okay with it. On
yeah.
the next page, it goes on to talk about there's some little back and forth. Katniss says that in spite of in spite the mayor's daughter being who she is, she's not a snob. She's quite nice. Keeps to herself, much like myself. Neither of us really has a group of friends. We just seem to end up together a lot at school, which is kind of funny because that's usually how you make friends. Is you don't have a lot of friends and you end up making friends with the other person who doesn't really have a lot of friends. But neither of y'all really call each other friends because you really don't know how this friendship works. Like it's honestly so true to real life in a
It's
lot of
relatable.
cases. But here's the next thing. A few paragraphs down, Gale really just pisses me off again.
Yeah.
It says, let's see here. Pretty dress, Gale says. Not Mags. Madge shoots him a look, trying to see if he's being if it's genuine compliment or he's being ironic. Which, knowing Gale, it's a
It's a
coin toss.
yeah.
Flip a coin and whatever it lands on is what it is.
This time
Um,
it could be something else next time.
she kind of retorts wittily with, well, if I end up going to the Capitol, I want to look nice. And then Gale pisses me off. Like, Gale really pisses me off. He's like, you won't be going to the Capitol, says Gale coolly. His eyes land on a small circular pin that adorns her dress. Real gold,
Beautifully.
beautifully crafted. It could keep a family and bread for months. And that descriptor is very important because it becomes the focal point of this entire series.
Yeah.
Like, it does, it becomes the focal point of the entire, at least main three, but there's even nods to it in the later two books.
Yeah.
But he goes, what can you have, like 5 entries? I had 6 in when I was just 12 years old. That's not her fault, Katniss says. It's no one's fault. It's just the way it is. Just the way it is, says Gale. And I'm like, why? If it's the way it is, why bring it up at all?
Well, I mean,
Why
and
make
I
her
get
feel bad about it?
right. Like he definitely shouldn't be making her feel bad about the fact that she doesn't have any more entries in. Um, and that he does. It's not it's not her fault. Um and I get that Gale very much is a person who takes out his anger on the wrong people. Like, he's not angry with Madge, but he's taking his anger out on Madge.
Yeah.
And that is not fair to her at all.
At all.
But then, it goes to say Madge's face has become closed off. And it's like, okay, Gale, like we know before that if Madge and Katniss ended up like together a lot, and they rarely talk, which suits us both just fine, Katniss says, so the fact that she is a very like reserved person,
Mm-hmm.
and Gail's comments have just like closed her off even more. It's just
Right.
like
It's
terrible.
it's why, you know.
But then she's like, "Good luck, Katniss," and then closes the
Yeah,
door.
like says nothing to Gale, and I think that is such a good dig, because I mean, really, everyone needs luck
Oh yeah,
on reaping day.
yeah,
Like it is terrifying, right? You don't know what's gonna come of you if you get reaped. History has shown, and we'll go on to talk about this in just a brief minute here. I think it's on the next one of the
oh,
next
excuse
couple
me.
of pages. But District 12 has two victors in 75 years.
Yeah.
Like the odds are not, in fact, in their favor,
Oh no.
statistically speaking.
Yeah.
So like that good luck could have done them both good. It could have eased both of their nerves, but she directs it poignantly at Katniss
As
to
like a big old middle finger to Gale.
right, which he deserves.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that Gale's not a good character because he's a great written character. He does play some very vital roles later on within this story.
Yeah.
He's just not that great of a person.
Yeah, and the like it definitely gets worse later, and we get more into why. Not necessarily in this book. It won't be until the
Till
next book
yeah,
that we really start seeing why Gale isn't a great person. But already, with how little you actually see of Gale in this book, you start to already get that glimpse that he is,
kind of a jerk.
yeah, not the
And
word that I would have used, but that's a good word for
like
it.
he's kind of a jerk. It says we walk toward the seam in silence. I don't like that Gale took a dig at Madge. Now Madge got her dig back with in our opinion,
Yeah.
got that dig back a little bit um with the good luck Katniss, and then closes the door. Um
And then she goes on to explain how the reaping system works.
right, and this is incredibly important, um at least in the context of this book and the fourth and fifth book. Um
Yeah.
because the second and third books do not follow in with this because of events that are laid out in this book. Like this book sets up so much.
Yeah.
Um as any good first book in a series will.
Yeah.
But so it goes on to talk about the Tesserae and the uh your odds of being reaped, or your entries for the reaping, I should say.
Yeah, this is Tesserae and Tessera.
Same thing.
Anyway.
So it says you become eligible for the reaping the day you turn 12. That year, your name is entered once. At 13, it's twice, and so on until you reach the age of 18, the final year of eligibility when your name goes into the pool 7 times. So your name gets entered every year, adding another one on until you're 18, 17 times. That's true for every citizen in all 12 districts in the entire country of Panem.
This is also the first that we are told that there are only 12
12 districts,
districts.
yes.
Um we will go on in a little while to find out that there was a, don't worry about that, guys, that there was a 13th district and it no longer exists.
Yeah, I think the word they used was obliterated.
I believe so. Um,
Let me you continue, but I'm gonna find that word. I'm gonna find that because I think I highlighted it.
um, but this is the first look that we get into seeing how
Yeah, obliterated
uh
is the word they use.
yeah, the like how many districts are within Panem.
Yeah. And then it goes on to explain that each tessera, which you can take out to have your name added, more times to the reaping pool, is worth a year's worth of grain and oil for one person. So in the case of Katniss, she had to take out 3 each year. So her name will be in the reaping 20 times. In the case of Gale, who is 18, and has been either helping or single handedly feeding a family of 5 for 7 years, will have his name in 42 times, which is insane. There should realistically have been a cap, but the Capitol does not care.
No.
So therefore, there is no cap.
I mean,
If you needed to,
he's lucky that, I'm gonna find a way to word this not so terribly. I don't mean he's lucky in the good way, but if with his dad alive, it was 5 people. His dad died, but then his little sister was born. So then it was also 5 people. Had his dad survived, it would have then been 6 people. So the fact that he kind of lost a family member at least increased his odds just a slight bit.
Right. I mean, they're still not great odds.
Oh, no. His odds are terrible. But also, you skipped over a word that I think is very important, which is each tessera is worth a meager year's supply.
Yeah.
So it is the absolute bare minimum of how much the Capitol thinks is a year supply worth of the grain and oil for one person.
Yeah. And you make a very good point there. But it goes on to explain that how many times they've had to take it out, and it goes on to say you can see why someone like Madge, who has never been at risk for needing a tessera, can set him off. But really, no.
Well, and
because again, it's not her fault. Her dad is the mayor. It's not her fault that he or that Madge's family, the underseed undersea family is well off because they get paid presumably directly from the capital. Like their money presumably comes from the capital.
Either that or maybe a portion of
product for the year or whatever. And
we don't actually know.
No, but even then, I still cannot imagine it's all that much more.
No, it's enough that they can
have a servant or two,
and be able to afford butcher meat and stuff like that. But also with the strawberries,
but they say the same thing about the merchant class being able to afford the butcher meat and stuff like that. So really, the mayor can't be that much higher paid than the butcher or the seamstress or seamster in whatever case. They can't be. It doesn't seem, at least with 12, that they're making that much more than their merchant class people.
Right. And there's probably they probably aren't, and they're probably making roughly around the same amount that the merchant class is making.
Mm-hmm.
But I get where Gale is coming from. Madge has never been at risk of needing a tessera, but it doesn't it doesn't mean like okay, so it's like the chance of her name being drawn is very slim compared to those of us who live in the seam. Not
Mm-hmm.
impossible, but slim. I think what Gail needs to realize or remember is that yes, his odds of being chosen are worse than hers are. It doesn't like
It doesn't
it
change the fact that it could be her
yeah.
getting picked.
Like
Yeah.
until you have aged out, the possibility of your name being called is never zero.
No. Nope. It sure isn't. Um and so uh,
And it's not like Madge Madge's family was the one who set up the
right,
Tesserae.
and that's the
Like
way he's kind of acting, and she actually mentions that.
right. Um where is it? I had it.
Just another soul.
Not and even though the rules were set up by the capital, not the district, certainly not Madge's family, it's hard not to resent those who don't have to sign up for Tesserae.
Yeah, which again is understandable, especially in a situation like this where if you're not merchant class, you're minor class, and minor class is dirt freaking poor, basically.
Yeah.
Like they're barely making enough to make ends meet. I mean, Gail works 6 days a week in the mines and barely brings home enough money a week to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Like that just it shows how
Well, Gail's
poor.
still in school right now.
Well, yes, I mean later on,
Yeah.
but it's crazy to see that's
The case.
the case. Yeah, for sure. So it's talking about how it's used as a way to plant hatred between starving workers, thereby ensure that we will never trust one another. Like it's very standard propaganda
Oh yeah.
layout for this. Then it goes on to say, as we walk, I glance over at Gale's face, still smoldering underneath his stony expression. His rages seem pointless to me, although I never say so. I have two issues with this. One, if he's still smoldering, he's not all that stone faced.
Yeah.
First of all, secondly,
Or,
his rage.
she just knows him so well that she can spot that in him.
Right, and his rages seem pointless to me, although I never say so. Say something.
I honestly don't think it would help.
I don't either, but like you don't know until you say something.
I mean, I think in most situations, yes. However, with Gale and how he is with this, I don't think that her saying anything would would help at all. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's like, what good is yelling about the Capitol in the middle of the woods? It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make things fair. It doesn't fill our stomachs. In fact, it scares off nearby game. I let him yell, though. Better he does it in the woods than in the district.
Which is really a false sense of security, as we'll come to find out.
I mean, yes, but also, like, we don't know how much of. We don't even know if the woods are being monitored at this point.
Right. There's no way of telling yes or no at this point.
Yeah.
So
Well, so literally anything
I
they
would
do.
err on the side of caution.
Well, yes. But also when you think about it, they're already in the woods poaching off
Right,
of the
like
capital's land. Like they could
right.
be shot every single day.
Oh, for sure. Um
So,
so after this, they split up their spoils for the day, and they make off fairly well for what they have left,
yeah.
because they each walk away. each of them walk away with 2 fish, some bread, like good bread, grains. Each walk away with a quart of strawberries, salt, paraffin, which is a wax,
And a bit
um,
of money.
and a little bit of money. And then is like, she goes, "See you in the square." He says flatly, and that I double highlighted that flatly. Wear something pretty.
Yeah, because he's still thinking about the interaction with Madge,
Yeah, like he's still
stewing over it.
stewing over it. And again, for what? Like you had no right to go to snap at her the way you did. Um Regardless of the fact that you feel that you had that right.
Yeah.
Because she's in the same boat you are. When you look at it at the end of the day, she might have less toes in the boat, but she's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like so. But then Katniss makes her way home to find her mother and sister ready to go, and to find that her mother has drawn her a bath. Um,
She
so
takes
she,
her bath, and she comes out of the bath to find that her mother has laid out one of her lovely dresses from her apothecary days, which are something that her mom really holds dear.
yeah,
It's one of the few things that she still has left over from her childhood per se,
mm-hmm.
Um
At least from her younger years.
yeah, and a soft blue thing with matching shoes. The dress is blue and the shoes match. Um and Katniss is like, "Are you sure?" Like,
Yeah, because she understands the significance of these clothes to her mother, and
and
she might not be totally happy with her mother, um, which gets explained in a few chapters. Um,
she's like, "I'm trying to get past rejecting offers of help from her.
yeah,
For a while, I was so angry I wouldn't allow her to do anything for me, and this is something special. Uh, her clothes from her past are very precious to her."
yeah, and then her mom, without skipping a beat, just goes, "Of course, let's put your hair up too." She says, I let her towel dry and braid it up on my head. And this braid, like it's glossed over in this sentence, right? Because you're
Hmm.
thinking about, if you're looking at this contextually, you're looking at Katniss trying to be more open to her mother and accepting help from her mother.
Yeah.
That this really goes by you the first time, but this braid is apparently so incredible that a capital stylist had to learn how to do it because he loved it that much.
Yeah.
Like, and that
Oh, and he
really,
had like the prep team
yeah.
learn it straight from Katniss's mom.
And this is a book two thing, but like this braid comes back over and over. It comes back in the second book. It comes back in the third book.
Does it come back in the third book?
I think so.
I don't remember if it does.
But I know
Um,
for a fact it comes up several times in this book alone,
yeah.
and then at least once or twice at the beginning of book two.
Yeah.
Um, I can hardly recognize myself in the cracked mirror that leans against the wall. Which is just kind of like, I think that's a cool thing to say because we all have those times where we get dressed up for something or we're getting ready to do something important, so we need to look nice. So we do all this stuff, then we're like, dang, I didn't know I could clean up like this.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think it's interesting though that it it seems that they are supposed to dress up for the reaping.
Right.
Um and we still at this point haven't really gotten any information on exactly what
What
the
the
Hunger Games are.
right, which and that comes up very soon.
Yeah.
Um and I love this, and I when I read this, I heard Carolyn McCormick's voice in my head when I read this. It says, "You look beautiful," Prim says in a hushed voice. And all I can hear is from the audiobook, "You look beautiful." Like, it's just That's how it reads in my head, you know, because that's how I'm used to hearing it. Um,
And nothing
you know,
like
like myself,
myself.
I say, I hug her because I know the next few hours will be terrible for her. Her first reaping,
Which the finding that out, we now know Prim is 12.
right,
You know, she could have been anywhere between 12 and 15.
right.
Um, but now we know she's 12.
And I highlighted this and wrote underneath it "good sister" because Katniss would not let her take any Tesserae out.
Yeah.
Um, you know, which comes back to save to be a good thing. Um, just because, well, at least for this, because at the current standing, the events of book 2 aren't expected to play out that way.
Yeah.
So like she's just trying to protect her sister.
Yeah. I mean, and she goes on to say, I protect Prim in every way I can.
Yeah.
So, and
But I'm
we,
powerless against the reaping. And
yeah,
only to an extent, because I mean, yes, like by preventing her from taking out Tessera, she
it
is there.
increases her odds
Yeah,
of not having her name drawn.
right. Which we'll see in a few pages here. Apparently, doesn't matter.
But see, she's
Like,
still, even though, we'll get there.
um,
I love this
tuck your
little,
tail in, little duck.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say the same thing. I do love this little interaction between the two of them. Um,
Prim giggles and gives me a small quack. Quack yourself, I say. A
yeah,
little light laugh. Mm.
the kind that only Perm can draw out of me. And I wrote next to that closed off. She's incredibly closed off, and
Yeah.
that becomes more and more apparent as we make our way through this book. That just how incredibly closed off Katniss Everdeen is.
Yeah.
They
And
sit, so
then
they sit down to eat a
and
fairly hearty lunch. They're saving like the fish and
oh
greens, uh, and the strawberries for like the evening meal, but like they have a fairly substantial, I'll say. Like they have some bread, like some rough bread they say, but like they get goat's milk, which is very, very rich and
yeah.
very filling. And that's why I kind of say this is hearty, like for them anyway.
Yeah.
Because with the bread and the milk, um,
You know.
there's
It's
there's
gonna
there's not much else they can do until nightfall, until after the reaping.
yeah.
At 1 o'clock, we head for the square. This bewilders me. Is attendance is mandatory unless you're on death's door. Like, so are you expecting like a woman in labor to show up and give birth in the middle of the reaping?
Um
Like,
I don't know if
or
the
is it
the
just a
line
way
of
of
the except
saying
for on death's door is literal, like you literally have to be dying, or if like you are in that kind of situation.
right, like a severe
Um
medical situation?
yeah.
Which I mean, like giving birth is not a severe medical situation unless there's something wrong with the person and or the baby.
But you never know in the middle of labor, so
Right. Well, I don't know, but
well, neither do I.
um
I don't think you've gone into labor, so um
get so
this evening officials will come around and check to see if this is the case. If not, you'll be imprisoned. So, if you are found that you were just like hiding out and didn't go for whatever reason that isn't like a legitimate reason for not going,
they're gonna
you
throw
will
you in
throw
jail. Like you just go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Which is wild to me.
Dude, they could pass go and they're still not collecting $200. Not in District 12.
No. And then it
Well,
gives a
not in most of the
description of
districts.
the square, which is surrounded by shops, um, for like market days and things like that, especially if there's good weather. Um, Currently there are cameras everywhere and all this. It says, but despite the bright banners hanging on the buildings, there's an air of grimness. The camera crews perched like buzzards on rooftop only add to the effect. People file in silently and sign in. And that answers my earlier question of how do they know who didn't show up.
Yeah.
But like, and
I
which is funny
mean,
because I have it highlighted here, but my brain didn't make that connection earlier.
so like in it's something that I know we were talking about how we would do like a difference between the movie and the book and stuff separately,
Mm.
but this moment popped up in my head in the movie. You see that it's just the 12 through 18-year-olds who are signing in.
Right.
Um,
But it's saying that everyone is signing in.
yeah, you know, or if or it could just have been shown that way. Maybe there's a different line for people who are participating in the reaping and people who are just being forced there to watch.
Right, but this also is like the reaping is a good opportunity for the capital to keep tabs on the population as well. So this doubles as their yearly um census essentially.
Yeah.
Um 12 through 18-year-olds are herded into roped areas marked off by ages, oldest in the front, young ones in the back, like prim towards the back. Family members line up around the perimeter, holding tightly onto one another's hands. Um, Anyone who came in late just kind of gets shoved off onto a side street, which I feel like happens with like concerts and stuff that are held out in the open like that. Like if
Yeah.
you can't fit on the main street, they'll usually have like side streets or whatever closed off as well with like big like screens and stuff hanging so you can watch it still.
Yeah. I mean,
Um
and she does say that the square isn't big enough to hold
the eight eight
the
thousand?
yeah, 8,000, you know, people of District 12.
Yeah. And
Um
that's obviously got to be a rough number because you have people being born and dying left and right, so like that fluctuates.
yeah.
And I say left and right
Well, and I
because
don't think
they say like people are just kind of, there are times where like in the winter people just kind of drop dead from starvation and frostbite. Um
and I don't expect that Katniss ever sat there and tried to count everyone, nor did she have an opportunity to see uh like how many were on like the sign-in sheets.
mhm.
So it's probably just like a rough estimation that she's like heard in the past or something.
Right. And this kind of this these next few uh paragraphs basically are just more world building, more like descriptive, talking about how the space is getting more claustrophobic as people arrive. The square is quite large, but not enough to hold District 12's population of about 8,000. Latecomers are directed to adjacent streets. We already talked about all that. Um,
She is in a clump of 16-year-olds from the scene, and they all exchange nods before focusing their attention on the temporary stage set up in front of the Justice Building.
mm-hmm.
Um, it holds three chairs, a podium, and two large glass balls, one for the boys and one for the girls. I stare at the paper slips in the girls' ball, 20 of them having Katniss Everdeen written on them in careful handwriting.
First of all, who wrote these all out?
Dude, I don't know. Probably like I was
Someone
gonna
they
say some
imprisoned?
like underpaid staff person, but they're all
Underpaid,
underpaid.
yeah. Two of the three chairs fill with Madge's father, Mayor Undersea, who's a tall, balding man, and then Effie Trinket, District 12's escort, fresh from the capital, with her scary white
White
grin,
grin.
pinkish hair, and spring green suit. And I never remember that it's spring green.
Oh, and that's another change from the movie. Is here her suit is spring green. In the movie, it's like
Like a fuchsia pink kind of thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and it says that they murmur to each other and then look concerned at the empty seat. And I just kind of highlighted empty seat and went, well, he drunk. Um,
Yeah, because
because we are about to be introduced to one of the greatest and honestly one of the most important characters, arguably, to the entire series.
oh yeah.
Um,
But I mean, the mayor goes
bef-
on to like read the, what is it, the Treaty of Treason?
The Treaty of Treason, or he begins to steps up and begins to read in the same story every year. He tells the history of Panem, the country that rose from the ashes of a place once called North America, which makes me wonder: was are they just talking about the United States, North America, or are we talking like parts of Canada, parts of Mexico, like?
Well, Mexico is Central America.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
it would be.
so probably just the United States and Canada. Um, though I honestly like with the next bit, is like he lists the disasters, the droughts, the storms, the fires, the encroaching seas that swallowed up so much of the land, the brutal war for what little sustenance remained. It makes me think that quite a lot of the United States, a decent bit was swallowed up by the encroaching seas. Like,
Right, I'd
where we
say.
currently live does not exist in this world.
Oh,
It
probably
is
not.
not there.
Um, and they keep they talk the then came the dark days, the uprising of the districts against the capital. 12 of them were defeated,
The 13th
obliterated.
obliterated.
And the fact that they say obliterated comes in so importantly later in the story.
Well, I just also think it's like obliterated just like shows how devastatingly it was destroyed.
Right.
Like that
Um
specific word choice, because I feel like they're like, I'm not gonna go off on that tangent. Never mind.
but then it goes on to talk about the Treaty of Treasons, which basically gives you the rules of the Hunger Games. Or gave us the Hunger Games because, ooh, brain. New the Treaty of Treason introduced new laws to guarantee peace. As our yearly reminder that the dark days must never be repeated, it gave us the Hunger Games. The rules of the Hunger Games are simple. In punishment for the uprising, each of the 12 districts must provide one girl and one boy called tributes to participate. The 24 tributes will be imprisoned in a vast outdoor arena that could hold anything from burning desert to frozen wasteland. Over the period of the next several weeks, the competitors must fight to the death. The last tribute standing wins. And this is super important. First
Because
and
we
foremost,
finally know what the Hunger Games are.
yeah, like we're getting introduced to the premise of this story. And I also find it rather interesting that they mention two methods of which they do not build upon anymore. They do not build on strictly desert and they do not build on strictly frozen wasteland
Oh,
because
because it's
they
boring
turned out to be very boring.
for the capital anyway.
Um which is like a horrific thing to say, but that is literally how it is described later. Um,
But now we know that the Hunger Games is a fight to the death, uh, and that there can only be one winner, and you hope that you don't enter it, but if you do enter it, you hope that you win.
yeah, because
But
if you
you
win, um, the capital then goes on to shower your district for an entire year with better grain, better oil, sugar, parties. Like there's a lot that kind of goes into that celebration. Um, it's
Yeah.
both a time for repentance and a time for thanks, intones the mayor. And I highlighted that and I wrote underneath it, for what?
But he doesn't believe that. He just has to say it.
Yes.
You know. Um
But still, even for the districts that believe it,
yeah.
right? Because there are several of them that do up until the very end of the series, that they're that this is what we get, and it's like, why should you be forced to kill off your children every year because you lost a war,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I mean, but it's like it says it is both a time for repentance and a time for thanks. You said for what? The repentance is, what happened during the dark days, that it should never happen again. And then thanks that, like,
your kids weren't reaped this year.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess.
but I mean, at the same time, the repentance thing, it's funny to me because again, the districts weren't wrong in their uprising. Maybe poor execution, but they weren't wrong in wanting to be freed from the system that they were a part of.
Right, the capital tyranny.
You know, um, so I don't know, it's weird to me. But anyway, so this continues on to say he reads a list of the past District 12 victors. In 74 years, we've had exactly two. Only one is still alive, Hamish Abernathy, a paunchy, middle-aged man who at this moment appears hollering something unintelligible, staggers onto the stage, and falls into the third chair. He's drunk.
Very.
Very. The crowd responds with its token applause, but he's confused and tries to give Effie Trinket a big hug, to which she barely manages to fend off. And I love
like
this scene.
Her holding the chair back. Back, you beast.
I love this scene both in the book and in the movie.
I don't think it happens this way in the...
No.
No.
I know, like, the because of you happens.
Huh?
I said the whole, it's because of you.
Does it? Because
I think so.
I didn't think he fell off the stage.
He doesn't fall off the stage in the book or in the movie.
Just throwing stuff on the floor.
Oh well, you know. Just had to yeet it real quick. But
How was it 8:00 already?
So yes, the mayor looks distressed since all this is being televised right now. District 12 is the laughing stock of Panem, and he knows it. He quickly tries to. I love this scene so much. The mayor tries to kind of reassert dominance, get things back going. Dominance is the wrong word, but it's the first one that came to mind. He tries to reinstate order. There we go.
There you go.
And then just Effie trots to the podium and gives her signature. Happy Hunger Games!
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
Which they never are. Her pink, and I love this next line, her pink hair must be a wig, because her curls have shifted slightly off-center, since her encounter with Hamish. Yeah.
But, you know, she's now up there doing her thing, and she, you know, is doing her thing, and I lost where I was in the book, so take it over.
She goes on to talk about what an honor it is to be here.
Oh yeah, but but everyone just knows that she's hoping to get bumped up to a better district.
Yeah.
With bumped up to a better district where they have proper victors, not drunks who molest you in front of the entire nation.
Which, part of me is like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But at the same time, knowing what we know about Hamish and Effie's backstory and how they know each other, I don't think she'd ever actually trade up 12.
I don't.
At least at this point, maybe. By the end of this book, there's no way she'd ever trade up 12.
Yeah. You know, Katniss glances over at Gale, and you know, they're kind of like smiling. Is like, I spot Gale looking back at me with a ghost of a smile. As reapings go, this one at least has the slight entertainment factor. But suddenly I'm thinking of Gale and his 42 names in the big glass ball. I almost read his big ass. And how the odds are not in his favor, not compared to a lot of the boys. And maybe he's thinking the same thing about me because his face darkens and he turns away. But there are still thousands of slips. I wish I could whisper to him.
Yeah, it's like, this is a tense moment.
Yeah.
just for everybody, no matter what we think about Gale, no matter what we think about Katniss,
You
no matter
know,
what we
all
think about
the
any of
unnamed
them,
people in the crowd
yeah,
that we
like
don't
there
know.
are presumably, I'd say at least 1,000 children standing here, not knowing as if in a few weeks' time, that's it for them.
Yeah.
You know,
Um, and then
Effie, you know, make
walks up to the
the
glass ball, and ladies
is
first.
first.
And she reaches in and she pulls out a slip of paper, and Katniss is just sitting there thinking to herself, uh, feeling nauseous and so desperately hoping that it's not me. It's not me. That's not me. Effie Trinket crosses back to the podium, smooths out the paper, and reads the name in a clear voice. And it's not me. It's Primrose Everdeen.
What are the odds? Honestly, I wish there was a easy way to calculate out what the odds. I mean, like it has to be
I'm fairly certain
150,000 to one
I'm fairly certain we could look it up. If somebody out there has
has
done the
done the
math.
math. And if
And
somebody
since
out
we
there
didn't pay
wants
our
to
math
do the
tax,
math for us,
yeah.
feel free. But it's that's the end of chapter 1. Um
And that is where we will end for this week. No on to chapter 2. Chapter 1 was long enough. I
took
mean, it's
us
been 2 hours.
took us about 2 hours to get through this, and we'll get like a little smoother with things as we go.
Um, we might get smoother with it, but that doesn't mean that the videos are not gonna get longer. Because
Right.
they most definitely will, where there being more details of things to go over. Like,
Right.
we will probably spend 10 minutes just on the first page of the next chapter.
Well, not even just that. I don't expect them to get too much longer as we get better at explaining our reasons for why we highlighted this or why we think this. Like as we get more comfortable with the exposition part of things,
Right,
it'll smooth
there's
out for
that,
sure.
but still the details you're gonna get a
Right.
lot.
Um but you guys, thank you guys so much. Again, if you guys enjoyed this or you guys want to see more and want to see how things kind of progress, not only with the story but with us on the podcast, um please again like, subscribe. We'll have a couple of social medias available in the near future, if they're not already available by the time this goes up.
They should be in the description of this video. Um,
And it probably won't be much, at least for now, but we'll have like a Twitter or an Instagram or something for you guys to follow and get also notifications through there, interact with us through there. We'll also leave our email in the description.
so
Um,
feel free to email us your comments, or if you have any suggestions of books that you want us to do, or if you just want to be like, hey, I really enjoy the podcast, you know, send us an email. We'll read it eventually.
yeah, the eventually kills me.
um,
But you guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the first chapter of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. We are very excited for this to continue. We're very excited to see what we can dig out of this in the long run, and what was, if we can learn something new from this book, although we've read it several times, if we can still learn something new from this, we'll both be happy with that.
oh, yeah, I mean,
Um,
even if I don't, like, again, I have read the like original 3 books of this series many times. I'm actually
right,
currently reading the second one just because.
right.
So it's a series that I go through quite often. It's one that I love very much. And I can't wait to continue going through it with you and with you guys. Like,
Yeah.
this is going to be a lot of fun.
And there's probably gonna come, like, this episode may not be edited in any way. It might just go up raw, unedited footage. But if we do get to the point where we have to edit stuff out, it's definitely gonna be like keeping those little clips for like Instagram or a gag reel that we'll upload or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely going to be a lot of moments where we flub this or flub that, and I think it'd be funny to share with you guys.
Oh
But if you
yeah.
guys have
Because we're
any,
both illiterate. No.
if you guys have any book recommendations, if you have any ideas of things that we could do, um,
Please let us
let
know.
us know in the
Either
comments.
in the
Let us know in
comments
the
or
email.
send us an email.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to say like figure out our approximate location and like Skyrider it, but that'd be creepy, so don't do that one. Um
Yeah, we're not
yeah.
looking for Jose Monkey or nothing out here. Um, which if you get that, it's a great reference. But
Oh Lord.
I digress. We are now officially at the 2 hour mark. So with that being said, please remember to renew your copies on your way out, and we'll see you back here in the library next week. Bye.